good thing.
You rescind the Dream Act executive order.
We're going to have to. We have to make a whole new set of standards.
I have an idea. How about anvil babies? Because that's what anchor babies are around the necks of the American taxpayer.
Come here, they have to.
You're going to split up families.
Chuck.
You're going to deport
Chuck. No, we're going to keep the families together.
They're talking about anchor babies. They're talking about sanctuary cities. They're talking about Mexican rapists.
We have to keep the families together.
But you're going to keep
they
them
have to
together
go. But they have to go.
What if they have no place to go?
We will work with them.
We're at the Mexican-American border in Arizona, where thousands of immigrants cross over into the United States, risking their lives each year for a shot at something that most millennials don't believe exists anymore, the American dream.
Although millennials may be out of touch with the American dream, immigrants from around the world continue crossing borders to pursue it. But there's a problem for them. Many conservative politicians and influencers want to stop them from entering the U.S. And many of these conservatives want to pass strict legislation that would allow government officials the right to forcibly remove immigrants who are already here that are undocumented, regardless of the fact that many of them have been raised in America.
The individuals crossing the border are classified as rapists, criminals, and get an overall horrible rep when talking to many conservatives. Which begs one to ask the question, what exactly are these millennial immigrants doing once they cross into the United States?
We spent time with Anna, an undocumented millennial who crossed the border with her family illegally. This is what you like to do in your free time?
Mm-hmm. The top one is my mother. The middle one's my eldest sister Liz. The one underneath her, my older sister Joka, and then I'm the one at the bottom.
How old were you when you came over to the United States?
I was 3.5, going on 4.
What was that journey like? Do you remember any of it?
I remember a little bit. Mostly it's just from what my mom tells me. So my sister was born here, so she had already crossed over. I was born over there, so I had to cross over. My mother had gotten somebody to help her out, and so we were using somebody else's papers, a little girl. My mom told me that if I shut up and I was very, very quiet, that I would get to see my sister, so I was just like, automatically stopped talking. My mom had just said she was over there buying groceries, because sometimes people do that, they go across the border to get stuff that they don't sell here, and we just went right on over. But the thing is, there wasn't that much paranoia back in those days.
Yeah, different time.
Different time.
Or pre-9/11.
Pre-9/11, there wasn't as many. I mean, I've known people who had a lot tougher times going through, who literally like go through the desert, end up drowning, end up starving, being treated like horribly by people who just like want to make a commission off of bringing them over. So in comparison, it was a lot easier. My mother had friends. They were the ones that helped her cross over. They were the ones that let her borrow her papers and her daughter's papers. I do remember actually the first thing we ate when we crossed the border was McDonald's. It was like right there.
Come to America, eat McDonald's.
Exactly.
I'm sure you didn't at the age in which you crossed over, but now looking back at it, you must see that the incentive of her crossing over was probably because she saw America as being this land of opportunity. Is that true or false?
I think it's true, because the thing is, as a mother of 3 in Mexico, earning a wage to support just yourself is hard enough. And she'd lived here, she'd known what it was like here, and she knew that she could do it here. It wasn't something that was a possibility in Mexico, not with 3 daughters, as a single mother. And it's still predominantly very religious area. She was in the south of Mexico. So being a single mother with 3 daughters isn't like really a thing that you do.
Yeah.
It would have been impossible. And if we had, none of us would have gone to school. None of us would have educated or gone any further than where our station would have allowed us. And as a mother, like, who wants that for their children? If I worked hard enough, I could do what I wanted to do. I mean, it would be more difficult and I'd have to work harder to do it, but the fact that I could do it without without the limitations. I went through a bit of a phase when I was younger. Became very disillusioned with everything, kind of because I realized exactly the situation that I was in. The fact that I go to college, the fact that I'm not 18 and already married with 2 children, amazing. It's not something we would have been able to do otherwise.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people who watch this who are our age, who are probably thinking the American dream is dead,
Oh,
that
no.
it doesn't exist anymore. But your situation is a fair indication that, is it fair to sit and say that you still actually believe that the American dream is alive and well?
I believe in it now more than I did when I was younger. What it was is I was getting accepted to all these schools, right? All these like really good, really prestigious schools. And I had the grades and I had the incentive, but I didn't have the money. And without loans or without federal aid, which I couldn't get, or state aid, which I couldn't get, I wasn't able to get into these schools. You become just apathetic.
And how do you feel about it now?
I spoke with my mother because she was wondering, like, what are you doing? Like, why is it that you're not going to school? And then I told her, and she's like, basically just gave me a lecture. It's like, you owe it to me, to everybody, to continue doing like what you're supposed to be doing. You just gotta have hope that one day in the future, legislation will pass, things will happen, and you'll be able to use the degrees and everything that you've worked hard for. Because you don't want to be stuck in a place where suddenly legislation is passed and you're like, I didn't do anything to prepare for it.
What's your take on listening to conservatives and Republicans who sit and comment on Mexican immigrants who are coming here, saying that they are involved in organized crime, alluding to the fact that they don't really contribute a lot? You're listening to that. They're essentially talking about you and know nothing about you. What's that like?
It can either be just kind of like hilarious that they can, it's like, wow, these people are so out of touch. They have no idea what's going on. And even if somebody tried to tell them, they wouldn't listen. My mother pays taxes. And I pay taxes. You pay taxes because you ever decide to go into the process, you have records that even though you weren't a citizen, you were paying taxes, you're contributing to the country.
If you were sitting in a room with some of these guys, the Rick Santorums, the Donald Trumps, the Michelle Bachmans, what would you say to them? Is there anything you would say to them specifically?
You know what? No, I wouldn't, because the thing is, they're so set in their ways, and it's just such a part of them that there's not really much you can say. There's the people that you need to talk to are the people who are kind of on the fence. The people who don't really know any better, but because they're raised a certain way, they think a certain way, and it's not their fault, really. But people who, as an adult, still think this way, still hard in their mind believe that they are right, there's not really much you can do. They're kind of like a lost cause. It's the people who are on that verge of the decision. That's the people that you need to focus on. The people who need to be educated in the terms of what's actually going on.
Do you consider yourself an American? What do you consider yourself?
I consider myself American, I do. Even if not legally or not technically, I live here, I speak English better than I speak Spanish. I wouldn't know what to do if I went back. I mean, if I went back, it'd be like I'm visiting. I'm so out of touch with everything there that I wouldn't fit in.
When Donald Trump was running for president, he was talking about how he had this master plan, which when you would put the numbers together, it never added up. He could never answer the question, but it was this idea that everyone who's over here and their family, no matter what the circumstance, if they're illegal, should be deported. You've been here your entire life. You're as acclimated as I am. You don't remember anything else. Where would you go? What would your family do? What's the expectation? What do they expect? Where do they expect people to go? How do they expect people to live their lives? And I guess if I were...
They don't care. It's more of a, here's a problem, let's just send it across the border and forget about it sort of a thing.
Yeah, you're not a problem.
No, that's what they see, though. They view us as, despite being a country of immigrants, they see any immigrant that comes in as being a problem. I have a work visa, I go to school, so stand-up citizen, no crimes, don't even jaywalk, because I'm terrified too. I have to work for every class that I take, I have to work for everything that I have. And don't appreciate how hard and how much of a privilege it is to go to school. So I share this with people because they need to know that, one, they're taking everything for granted, and two, not everybody is that like lazy, horrible, like gangbanger kind of an immigrant. Not everybody's that way. The majority of people aren't. But it's easier to fixate on that idea rather than face with reality for some people.